Hey, this is Brandon Ives, and I wanted to talk about the debt ceiling in the United States economy and what the U.S. government is potentially doing with that debt ceiling and why it is dangerous. But the first thing I want to say about the debt ceiling and the question of whether they are going to raise it or not, it would be a tremendous failure on both sides of the parties, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, if they do not go ahead and raise the debt ceiling. The United States needs to honor its debts. They've taken these debts out, and they need not to default on them. There's no reason to default. If they want to cut spending, they should get together and do that. If they want to increase spending and use more debt, they should get together and agree upon that. Money problems often are not really money problems, and this is a great example of how that plays out in government. If I was to talk to you about a marriage and talk about, one partner and another partner, and they were having a hard time getting together on the same page with their finances, it's not ever really about the money. It's about communication. It's about common values. It's about not being honest with each other. It's not about working together to go in the same direction. All of those are what ends up happening when you have money issues in a marriage. And the same way in Congress and in the United States government, they have a problem working together. And it has been building and building and building for years. They don't see, both Republicans and Democrats, they don't see the world the same way. And they refuse to get together and compromise to work towards fixing certain issues that are in the public conversation. And the debt ceiling is just one of them. Republicans and Democrats both want different things to happen when it comes to budget priority. And when I say that, neither one of them has the record. Neither one of them has the record of decreasing the amount of money that is borrowed. And I'll say that one more time. Republicans nor Democrats have a track record of spending less money. They constantly borrow money, whether one group is in power or the other. And you may say one group may have more programs and more spending and have more debt. And I would be able to point out different administrations that have, from both parties, jacked the rate of spending up significantly. So it's really unfair for one side or the other to say that they are the party of small government spending. Right now, the Republicans want to see certain things cut in order to get spending under control. And, that's all well and good, but the proof is in the pudding, as my grandmother would have said. And the proof is that neither one of these parties really have valued decreased spending. They both have continuously spent more and more money. It just depends on where the money goes. It really isn't about them bringing down the spending. It's about where they want to spend the money. So this is the communication issue, and the issue really lies around the fact that the Democrats and the Republicans can't come together and agree on where to spend the money. And because of that, one group is calling for cuts in social programs, otherwise they will not increase the debt ceiling. And the Democrats are saying we're not going to sacrifice what we consider to be core important social structures that need to be funded, and we're not willing to give up on that. And because of that, we're getting to a point where they're stalemated and they're waiting for one or the other to blink first. Inevitably, they're going to end up blinking. Somebody is going to step off the ledge and they're going to pass a bill. They've done this year after year after year. There have been multiple times when they have held the debt ceiling as a hostage or a negotiating point, and they have eventually done it. If they were to not pass a debt ceiling increase, there are major issues with that. If the U.S. was to default on their treasury bills or bonds, or they were to not be able to sustain their credibility as a global player in providing debt, they would crash the economic system. It would hurt the banks in the United States, but it would be a global crash. And I really have a hard time believing that Republicans or Democrats at the end of the day are really going to allow that to happen. There are really only 6 countries in the history of the modern world where they have defaulted. You've got countries like Greece, who had major economic, long-standing governmental issues. The United States is nowhere in that position. You have places like Lebanon where they had social and political and major issues there. Russia, defaulted years ago, and once again, it was a collapse of a system, and where there was a major political, economic hyperinflation area. We are not, even though we have inflation right now, we are nowhere near the level of those types of calamities that compounded into a non-voluntary debt crisis or a default on their debt. What I would tell you is this: if this happens, it would be because Americans self-inflict this upon themselves, and really it'll be the Democrats and the Republicans in Congress that push it onto themselves, and we will be to blame for crashing the global economy because of the way that we have treated this debt issue. It's hard for me to believe that that actually will happen. So you may hear this in other videos that I do. I don't believe in panicking simply because of the news or the mass hysteria that goes around in our culture. The plans for investing, the plans for saving, the plans for your business, the plans for your personal finances, they all should remain stable in these times, and that you should have the same approach, because the approach that you took to your finances of 10 years ago should be the same that you take today, that you should take for the next 10 years. You should guide your economics on solid principles, things that don't change simply because of whatever party's in power or whatever knuckleheaded things that politicians end up doing. So hopefully that will help you back off a little bit on wanting to take the leap with everybody else on the hysteria of the debt crisis or the debt ceiling crisis. I really believe that there's going to be a compromise made at some point. It's really a question of who gets their way and who blinks first when it comes to the political posturing that is taking place right now. And if things were to happen where they do default, there's nothing you can do about it anyway. So if there is a default, the whole system is going to be affected, and there's not going to be a safe place to go. So, I don't see that happening. So if I were you, I would continue to run your plan, run your playbook the same way you would whether this was happening or not, because there's really nothing that you can do individually or for a small business to change of the way the world will be affected if the debt ceiling isn't increased. So hopefully I'll put your mind at ease. I don't do these videos to try to scare anybody. I want to just bring some practical thought into it and try to explain what's going on from a certain perspective, which hopefully is helpful to you, and then you can go and you can take it and put it together with anything else that you hear, and try to make sense of the situation for yourself and make the decisions that are best for you in these situations. So hope you have a great week, and I'll look forward to the next time we talk on this video. Take care.